Hey, folks, I'm Tennessee Brando with the MeidasTouch Network. Now, I am a little bit under the weather today, but the good news is I'm not contagious, and I'm on my way back uphill. I definitely sound better today than I did yesterday evening, so that's progress. But I figured there was too many important things to talk about to stop and to pause for a moment, because we're headed into an election year, and there's so much that we need to be saying, and there's so many points we need to be getting across. So unless I absolutely get laryngitis, I will still be attempting to sit here in this chair and make videos. But Christie, at the moment that this video is being made, he's still hanging in there. He's still in the race. We all know that Christie isn't going to become the nominee for the Republican Party. But I really feel like that as time goes on, this is going to be a moment in time that we're going to look back at, and especially Republicans are going to look back at and go, you know, Christie was right when it came to Donald Trump. Take a look at this clip of him talking about how Trump will be more than likely convicted in March, and then he's going to be a convicted felon that won't even be able to vote for himself, and that's going to be the nominee and front runner for the Republican Party. Take a look at this Christie clip, and then let's come back and talk more about it.
But you won't support Trump?
No.
No matter what.
Look, here's the thing. I can't support a convicted felon.
Well, you wouldn't support him even if he isn't.
I'm a former prosecutor.
You wouldn't even if he isn't.
Right. But here's the thing, Joe. Like, it's now this has become a certainty in my view with Meadows' testimony. And so now they're asking someone like me, who's a former prosecutor, to support a convicted felon for president. Think about this. He can't even vote for himself. If he is convicted in April or May, which I expect he will be, he will not be able to vote for himself in November. That's who we're going to put on the ballot. What do you think the Democrats are going to talk about from that day to November? All they're going to talk about are the crimes he committed to try to overturn the election. And they just submitted a brief, his lawyers, saying he never took an oath to support the Constitution. Well, hell, man, I was there. I heard him say, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. I heard him say it. They're even denying that now. If you think that's not going to be the main thrust of the Democrats' campaign, if he's the nominee, you're living in fantasy land.
Now, I want to say this right out of the gate. I'm not really a fan of Christie. He's not someone that I would vote for because there's still a whole lot of important issues that I disagree with him wholeheartedly on. But when it comes to Donald Trump and what he's been saying all along, he's been spot on. And again, I really feel like we're going to look back at this moment in time and go, yep, that's the one guy, that's the one sane guy in the room that got it right. Donald Trump could be a convicted felon by March, and then he's going to be the Republican nominee. And when Christie says that that's what Democrats are going to run on, that they're going to point out that he committed these crimes, they're going to point out that he's a convicted felon, he's exactly right. And that's what I would encourage us as liberals, progressives, Democrats, whatever you want to call yourself, that's what I would advise that we do. We need to always remind people of how far the Republican Party has fallen. This is not the Republican Party of our grandfathers, okay? Hell, this isn't even the Republican Party of Bush and Cheney. This party has been hijacked by Donald Trump. It has been overran by MAGA. And they now have control of the party, and they have taken it in a direction that I never would have ever imagined. And I know so many people wouldn't have imagined it because, you know, Republicans used to have, no pun intended, they used to have values. They used to stand for something. They were the crowd of pull yourself up by your bootstraps. They were the crowd of being fiscally conservative. There's nothing fiscally conservative about MAGA. Donald Trump added $8 trillion to the national debt. How is that conservative? They want to talk about, you know, they're the party of the Constitution. They're the party that respects the law. Well, Donald Trump is now saying he doesn't have to support the Constitution, and they're saying the same. Well, they're splitting hairs here and going, well, it says to preserve, protect, and defend. It doesn't say we have to support it. Well, okay, I mean, how can you support something how can you protect and preserve and defend something that you don't support? These people constantly throw the Constitution in our face and call themselves constitutionalists, call themselves patriots, and now they're splitting hairs and saying, well, he doesn't actually have to support it if he disagrees with it. And that's going to be the guy that's going to be their nominee. That's who they're going to put up as the front runner, the face of their party. Whenever you put someone as the face of your party, then that's the guy that speaks on behalf of your party. And you may not agree with him on every single thing. I've tried to say this to liberals for a long time. We're not always going to agree with our guy, but he has to have the basic core values, and he has to have everyone's best interest at heart. Donald Trump clearly does not have any of that. He has no one's interest at heart but his own. And he's running solely to avoid jail. He's running solely to with the hopes that when he gets in, he can pardon himself from all of it and sweep it all under the rug and move forward. And there's people that are willing to let him do it, and there's people that are perfectly okay with it. And it's a pretty sad and disturbing day in this country when you've got a guy on trial for insurrection as the front runner of a party, and you've got people who participated in that insurrection also running for Congress around the country. And you say to yourself, where is the Republican Party that I once knew? Where did they go? And why have they embraced such madness? You know, and for the Republicans out there, there are still some that, you know, are reasonable people. But if they're not calling this out, I view them to be guilty by association. I will at least applaud Chris Christie for being the one guy to call it out. Again, I don't agree with him on everything. Wouldn't vote for him because of key issues where I disagree with him on. But at least he's calling it out. And at least he's trying to point out that, hey, this isn't normal and this isn't what the Republican Party stands for. You know, I can understand, you know, when I look around the country and I see them praising the insurrectionists, when I see them making heroes out of people like Kyle Rittenhouse and Derek Chauvin, the cop that, you know, unalived George Floyd, when I see them making martyrs and victims out of people like that, I'm not really shocked because every psychopath has a fan club. You know, Ted Bundy had women writing him love letters in prison. Charles Manson had a fan club. John Wayne Gacy had visitors come to see him. You know, so I'm not surprised that people would put psychopaths up on a pedestal. But what really surprises me is that Republican politicians on the main stage are giving credibility to this. And they're saying that it's okay. And they're saying to the next generation of voters, hey, this is okay. So why would we even have a swearing-in moment? If Donald Trump was to be reelected, why would he lay his hand on the Bible, raise his right hand, and swear to do anything when he didn't do it the first time and says he doesn't have to a second time? What message does it send to presidents that come after Joe Biden and after Donald Trump? Once this is all over, and years from now, there's other people stepping up there to take that oath, they can say, well, hey, this guy here, he didn't have to do any of this. This guy here was able to get away with all this, so we can too. And it opens the door for the absolute destruction of everything this country was founded on. We're seeing it happen right in front of us. And some of us are trying to call it out and point to it and point to the seriousness of it. And there's people so caught up in their feelings and so caught up in their emotions and just wanting to win. I mean, Ron DeSantis himself said, yeah, I knew the election was fair, but I just kept saying otherwise because I wanted us to win. And that's what it's come down to with them. They're all about winning, and they will use whatever they can to manipulate it however they have to in order to seize power. And that is not what we were ever supposed to be about. You know, you should have two parties in this country that both comes to the table with ideas. And those ideas should be backed with data and research and facts and evidence is what it should be based on. And we should be sitting back as voters going, hey, you know, those are two really good ideas. You know, I don't know which one's better. I'm having a tough time picking it out. Instead, we're going, well, hey, you know, these people over here are trying to lead us straight into an authoritarian dictatorship. And we can't have that because that's not what we are. But Chris Christie will be remembered as the one reasonable Republican who has tried his best to call out Donald Trump for what he is and who he is. And I will at least give Chris Christie that. Wouldn't vote for him, but I would love to see more of the Republican Party at least have the common sense on this subject that Chris Christie has had. You know, he's stood up there, he's been booed, and he's kept talking. And right now he looks like the lone wolf, and right now he looks like the guy that, you know, that they could never get behind. But one day they're going to look back at him and go, yep, that's the turning point. That's the moment when we should have been paying attention to what it was that Chris Christie had to say when it came to Donald Trump. But folks, keep hitting that subscribe button here on the MeidasTouch Network, and I'm going to keep trying to bounce back from whatever crud that I've came down with. Until next time, you guys keep tuning in here on MeidasTouch, and we'll keep telling you the truth.
Hey, Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.